Horror icons. We've had so many over the years, from the 70s to the 80s and even dating back further than that. So much so that they've been etched into our minds. Whether it be a catchy one-liner, a funny catchphrase, or just the jaw-dropping last moments before their latest victim meets their fate. There's something about them that makes them special, and the ability to live on through the generations and in our memories. And one of those things happens to be the medium that both of you and I enjoy on this channel and share, which is of course video games. And one thing I find when it comes to the genre of horror within the video gaming industry is a lack of it. Now, could you say it's niche? Of course you could say it's niche. It's currently that niche that there are only 3 big studios that share that love and passion that we do for our horror icons and IPs. And they are Ilphonic, Behaviour, and Gun Interactive. That's not to say that the big 3 were the only ones in the industry actually producing asymmetrical games at the time. Saber Interactive came out with Evil Dead the Game, and considering it was their first time stepping into the genre, I think they did a fantastic job as their first game, taking everything from the Evil Dead universe, old and new, and putting it all together for all fans to have as much fun as they possibly could, whether you were playing the demon or you were Ash and his friends. Unfortunately for Saber, they were in over their heads and subsequently struggled with balancing, and unfortunately it's just got no player base, which is such a shame, to be honest. It has everything a fan loves and would want in an Evil Dead game. And let's not forget about our Mongolian devs with their upcoming asymmetrical game Carnival Hunt from Bear Knight Studios that you might have seen on my channel, which I can confidently say that currently right now is in alpha stage. I know it's taking longer than usual, and is a game I will continue to keep my eyes on as it develops and we get closer to launch, so I can bring in more information about it when it drops. So what I'm trying to say is I love horror icons, I love horror, I love the genre of horror, and there are certain characters that I feel deserve a bit more love than what they're actually getting within the actual gaming industry. I'm kind of tired of all this licensing that's going around. It's like Behaviour. They license every character that they can think of under the sun. And it's gotten to the point where I used to play Dead by Daylight and I used to enjoy it as the killer. And then obviously nerfs happened and other things happened. And I was just like, I'm not into this anymore. I don't like the game loop. I think the game loop is actually the most boringest game loop I've ever played. And I know it might not be a popular opinion and people might hate me for it, but I don't care. I still don't understand why it's so popular to this day. I'm the kind of guy that likes this thrill of the hunt, you know, this cat and mouse that we play. I had it in my first ASIM game, which was Friday the 13th, where you could play all the Jasons from all the movies, and that started via Kickstarter, if you weren't aware, and then each time it hit a goal, it would add more to the game. Unfortunately, that ended up in a lawsuit, a dispute over a screenplay regards to the rights to Friday the 13th. Therefore, all the content stopped, no content could be made. We were going to get Jason in space, but that just went out the window, and at the end of this year, on the 31st of December, the servers will actually shut down completely. I love that game to bits. I love the executions, so many executions for Jason, so many different abilities for each Jason, and was a real good fun time using VoIP. So that was my first taste into the ASIM games, and then I went into Dead by Daylight. I played that for a time. I enjoyed the IPs of the killers. That is the film nostalgia was pulling me in to play those killers. Then Evil Dead the Game released, and I really enjoyed Evil Dead the Game. And then, like I say, with Saber, they were just in over their heads when they were doing that game, and the content wasn't flowing as fast, but that really didn't bother me much. It was more they started nerfing the demon and you didn't feel as powerful. You know, when you're a killer, you're supposed to be powerful. Now, obviously, I'm not a dev, and I know it's probably a really hard job to find a fine balance between the two of killer and survivors. That's why balancing is always a big issue, especially when it comes to ASIM games. But some devs, not all devs, but some seem to miss the concept of you're a killer, you're supposed to be powerful. And not only are you supposed to be powerful, you're supposed to be feared. And I believe this is the reason why a lot of ASIM games, especially as the pendulum keeps swinging, as they keep changing balances, as they keep tweaking these little knobs and stuff, that's why they lose one side of their player base, because the other player base feels like they've, you know, had some kind of misjustice against them, and it's just not fun anymore. Now, currently, I've been playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is by Gun Interactive. Again, Gun have done a fantastic job here, and actually up in the ante. Instead of one killer, we have 3 killers, so you get that cooperative gameplay within your teams using VoIP against 4 victims. They've absolutely nailed it when it comes to the Texas Chainsaw IP itself, and have successfully expanded upon it by adding new victims and new killers, replicating some of the originals from the actual movie itself, as well as expanding upon it even further by adding new locations, different types of day, thus keeping it new and fresh each time for players. I always have a fun time when I load up Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Can it get a bit sweaty? Of course it can get sweaty, but it's all in good fun. And currently we will be getting a new map and a new killer and a new victim this December. And in my own personal opinion, I will say that Gunn is the king of Asym games at the minute. Whereas their previous partners in crime when it comes to Asym games, I've slowly watched their decline over time, as they focus more on the movie IPs. So IllFonic are off doing their own thing with nostalgia from movies such as Predator Hunting Grounds, as well as Ghostbusters, and then trying to rekindle themselves by going back to the horror genre with Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But even that isn't enough to keep players around, as all their games are at an all-time low when it comes to their player base. Then recently we got a message from the CEO of IllFonic actually saying that they today had to accept the harsh reality that the state of the industry has impacted us here at IllFonic. It is with the heaviest of hearts that cuts to our teams had to be made today as we realigned to a refined strategy. There is a lot of talent in this group, and if you or your team is hiring, please reach out so people can be connected to open roles. So the games clearly aren't cutting it, so they have to let people go, and that is very evident in the player base numbers currently in all their games. Personally, I feel like they did better when they were with Gunn, and they did Friday the 13th. That was probably the best game they ever made. And if you didn't know, prior to this news, they actually put out surveys asking fans, which horror IP do you want to see as a video game? Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, Terrifier, Dracula, The Thing, Happy Death Day, Final Destination, Halloween, Paranormal Activity, Scream, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Saw, and Evil Dead. So it seems as if they were just putting out the feelers because they didn't know what to do with themselves anyway. Then on top of that, asking players, which horror IP would you like to see more game content from? Friday the 13th, Predator, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Evil Dead, VHS, Puppet Master, Alien, Ghostbusters. Like, you don't own Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you don't own Evil Dead, so it's a weird thing. And now all of a sudden there's just layoffs. Obviously speculation rose, are they going to buy licenses in order to produce this kind of content? It's hard to believe considering now they're having layoffs. But I also wish everybody the best in the tough times ahead. So now that I've got the meat and bones out of the way, I hope you understand the history of everything and where I'm going with this, and know that I'm just a passionate horror fan with a dream to bring something to reality, not just for me, but all the horror fans out there. And if you paid attention to my intro, you probably already know who this character is. And I'm not the only person that's ever thought of this. I just thought of it recently with playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I feel like it's an injustice to this character. In fact, I even asked people outside of gaming, who is that one character that you can think of that is iconic to horror? And you know what? They all come up with the same first answer every time. And if it's the character you're thinking of right now, do me a solid and smash a like on this video. So who is this character, you say? This character is none other than the iconic murderer of you in your dreams, Freddy Krueger. And not just the Wish version of Freddy Krueger that New Line Cinema gave to Dead by Daylight. I'm talking about the Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger deserves his own asymmetrical game. Now, this isn't new. I haven't just thought of this. There are people in the industry and people that are really eager to get their hands on Nightmare on Elm Street as an IP and adapt it for the gaming world. And trust me, I've been trying on Twitter to get Robert to get involved in this. Now, in the 40th anniversary Q&A, Robert did state this.
No. I mean, maybe they'll do an animated version of it or something, and ask Heather and I to come in, you know, and do some voice work.
That's exactly what fans want, Robert. They want voice work. And what better way to do voice work than to do a game using your voice? You don't even need to do anything, just your voice. We can get a guy in mocap, not a problem, for animations for the game. And I have just the perfect man that is willing to take this challenge on.
We do some really fun things with Nightmare on Elm Street. I think there's some like dream theory and some interesting things you can do from a mechanics standpoint that no one has seen before. That it's okay that it's unexpected and different, because it's supposed to be you're in a dream, you're in a nightmare. Like, this stuff isn't going to exist the way you think it should. So I think there's a lot of fun things you could do you could do with that.
Now, that wasn't Wes's first choice. That was actually Wes's third choice. His first choice was Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. Now, John Carpenter is making Toxic Commando, which is kind of a Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood hybrid. I did try a playtest of that. It's okay. Second one would be The Thing, and then third would be obviously Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I believe with his pedigree and what he's done with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and collaborating with Robert, now there is issues in regards to the rights. Now, unfortunately, we lost Wes Craven back in 2015. So currently, as it stands, the estate of Wes Craven have regained the rights to both the film franchise itself as well as the iconic Freddy Krueger character. Now, international rights, meanwhile, remain with Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. Now, what I believe has happened is when they tried to reboot Freddy, and it subsequently flopped, that they don't really want to do anything with it. They're just holding on to it. Now, I think this is a prime opportunity in order to make some dollar when it comes to Freddy and give him the spotlight he deserves for being so iconic after all these years and still being in our memories. And like Wes says, I think you can do something interesting with it. Everybody thinks, well, yes, you need to be in the dream world. Obviously, we do have the New Line Cinema version of Freddy in Dead by Daylight, but it's just not cutting it. I think for fans, this is probably Robert's best hurrah. And being as much of a Freddy fan as I am, I would literally give up my job, move to Gunn, get employed by Gunn, and try and get this deal together. This is how passionate and stubborn I am to make this happen. To me, it's literally a no-brainer. Robert's last hurrah of his career, taking up the mantle of Freddy once again, but only in voice form, and Gunn delivering a spectacular game to the fans of Nightmare on Elm Street, of Freddy Krueger. I've literally been wishing, thinking, dreaming this would happen for years, and it still hasn't happened. Why hasn't it happened? Like, what is the roadblock? Is it the rights issues? Is it the fact that they're charging so much money out your ass? Like, do we have to involve Microsoft with all the money in the world in order to make this happen? I wish I knew all the answers to these questions. I really do. I won't be surprised. The reason it's not happening is because these rights owners are asking an extortion amount of money for it instead of actually giving the fans what they want. I hope that isn't the case, but it kind of feels that way when you're on the outside and you don't really know what's going on. But that's literally all I can say on the matter. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Would you want a Freddy game? I think you would. I even believe that Pennywise could make it into the ASIM space. Or are we just going to continue down this path of licensing? Like recently, I've just seen Ghostface everywhere. Ghostface is in Hunt Showdown. Ghostface is in, obviously, Dead by Daylight. And in now Mortal Kombat as well. Have we come to the point where these iconic characters only are good enough just to license and cross over into other franchises, or can they just stand on their own 2 feet? I think Freddy can stand on his own 2 feet, but then again, I did think that Evil Dead could stand on its own 2 feet. And for some reason, I don't know whether it was because of the Epic exclusive originally when Evil Dead came out that kind of hurt it, especially in the PC market. Then obviously the balancing was an issue. But like I say, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash a like on it. It really helps out the channel as we continue to grow the YouTube. If you want to support the channel even further, the best way of supporting the channel is by subscribing. Like I say, I'm just a passionate fan. I would love to make a YouTube video one day announcing that Freddy or Nightmare on Elm Street, the game, is coming. That would be so epic. But for now, I think we just have to cross our fingers very tightly and just hope that one day it'll happen. When everything else is lost, hope seems to be the only thing left. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful New Year. And as always, have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time.
What do you know? I beat my high score.